MultiVersus. You were meant to be the new kid on the block, the title that promised a AAA experience across a wide range of modes, from competitive to 2v2 to single player. What happened?
Hey dude, what's going on here?
Unfortunately, several setbacks got in the way of the development team at Player First Games. And outside of those close to the title, it will be impossible to tell until years into the future what exactly broke the camel's back on MultiVersus' seemingly impossible back fumble. In today's DashFight video, however, we want to give you the lay of the land that produced the Warner Bros. Chosen platform fighter and what are the grievances the community of the game currently voices to its developers, in hopes that the game will make a sharp turn for the better in the next few years. It is not like an upward trend is impossible. Brawlhalla started off as a mediocre yet fun platform fighter, and over time, as it found its rhythm, community, and an ever-growing list of collaborations, it became a widely popular free-to-play game, and MultiVersus could certainly do the same. MultiVersus was, at least when first presented to the public in November of 2021, a back-to-basics platform fighter with the ability to tap into one of the largest media franchise vaults, Warner Bros. Painted as a next-gen game for those seeking 1v1, 2v2, party and solo modes, the lead-up to MultiVersus' first beta was filled with excitement by the existing platform fighter community. It would be one of the first major entries in the genre since Ultimate, 4 years before it. Once out into the world, the MVS beta was positively received, though always followed by the phrase, "there is a lot of potential." Potential that remained chained down to the game's numerous technical issues. Apart from the expected bugs and glitches, there were key issues with clunky UIs that relied on menus on top of menus. A number of players were unimpressed by its grindy progression and felt like it was leaning on its monetization a little too hard, which made the fact that many of the modes, such as Rift, were either missing or lacking entire chunks all the more noticeable. More pressing were the problems under the hood. Launching with no Asian servers cuts off one of the fastest growing gaming sectors. Player First Games' rollback solution for the beta was not up to par with players' needs either, so much so that they had to rebuild it with their own bespoke implementation for release later. MVS bought into its own hype too much. It launched a second season with even more microtransactions and not enough fixes. And as the competitive scene kept digging into the game's core technological limits, it kept finding bugs and exploits that slowly eroded players' excitement. Its competitive scene did not have much time or tools to flourish on its own either. Besides a few brackets at local events and a few majors, MVS was not picked up by the wider FGC, even as a pickup game for their regular events. MVS's $100,000 bracket at EVO might have been a weekend highlight, but one has to ask if making a big statement with no follow-up was a sound choice. Competitive players appreciate the support, but they would have felt even better with a longer-term commitment to the game's scene. The game allowed people to imprint their hopes for a new competitive platform fighter on it, and its head developer Tony Huyn continued to engage with the community in a way that made that feedback feel heard. The game had potential. And then there was silence. Coming off from a high of a Game Awards double win and great player reception, the game went offline. But it was not supposed to. The beta was meant to be permanent until the final release. That was one of the core arguments as to why the game already had monetization. This turned a lot of heads. Suddenly, a game for which some had paid real money to have unique skins and other content was now inaccessible. Furthermore, there was no set date for its return. It would be months before any new information about the game came out, and in the interim, a number of Warner Bros. Games came under fire for their monetization models and the lack of fun gameplay. Suicide Squad Killed the Justice League is the largest of these failures for the group. But more broadly, Warner Bros. Seems like a headless chicken in the gaming space, devoid of soul and understanding as to what makes games fun. A core component for all games, but especially a platform fighter meant to replicate the magic of games like Smash Bros. But in 2024, with a clear action plan, developers at Player First Games went ahead and released MultiVersus. This time for real, it's staying up all the time, we are committed, and it received a number of fundamental changes that many fans of the title before were now left scratching their heads at. A change to the game's speed and character size was at the top of the list. A number of prominent figures in the platform fighter space, including Hungrybox, pointed out the slower speed and bigger models, and not in a positive light. Its monetization also got worse. MultiVersus was already a packed game in terms of offering players a way to deprive themselves of their cash, but now there was even more on offer, including a revised but not necessarily improved battle pass. Some core features were also axed, at least for the initial release, such as the ranked mode, which only recently was added back in, though not without some hiccups first. The switch to Unreal Engine 5 might have given player-first games a new set of tools to work with and enabled parts of their plan that could not be done before, but it also seems to have hampered or gotten in the way of the creation of an enjoyable game experience. At the very least, it introduced a whole host of bugs that the developers are still battling to bring back in line. The potential nail in the coffin for the game might be none other than its second release. MultiVersus had a rare opportunity in gaming to make a second first impression, and it likely fumbled it. From its mechanical changes to the presentation and monetization, MVS doubled down on many aspects that players flagged as issues in its beta period. The beta itself was taken down for a long period of time, which both killed its momentum and piled on pressure for its return. But that is all, for better or for worse, in the past. So what is there for the future of MVS? Generally speaking, yes, of course it can. Player-first games have been diligently working on new patches at a very fast pace. It also continues to pump out new content in the form of characters, stages, and its single-player-ish content, rifts. Though even rifts are not spared from complexity for monetization's sake, as many season rewards, including new characters, can be unlocked for free provided you complete certain objectives, which include rifts and defeating rift bosses, and at the highest difficulties, these can practically require you to put down some real money to defeat. The recent news of PFG being acquired by its publisher, Warner Bros. Games, could go either way. It might guarantee continuous work and support for the developers, or accept that going into the future, player-first games will have less and less control over its creation, with more WB management meddling that could be argued led to this situation in the first place. What is indisputable now is that MultiVersus is not hitting the highs it wishes it did. Brawlhalla has it tremendously beaten on Steam, which are the only statistics anyone has access to, as PlayStation and Xbox do not publish their numbers. But even here, there is a glimmer of hope. All games lose a chunk of their player base after the first few weeks. MVS lost around 90% going by Steam's numbers, which is higher than most fighting games, but not by that much. If PFG can concentrate on polishing up their game and nurture that still sizable player base in the months and years to come, there is no fundamental reason why MultiVersus would end up in the graveyard of platform fighters. Maybe that is what makes MultiVersus' fall from glory so painful. It is abundantly clear that there is something worth playing, but it's hard to say you love it right now. What do you think? Can MultiVersus ever pull you back into its servers? Let us know in the comments.